What time do you share those to go down to
2, I think. Okay. All right. Okay, so the questions that we're going to see today are going to ask us to write the equation of a line that passes through, and it's going to give us 2 points. Okay? So in this case, 4, 7, and negative 2, 1. We're going to do this. I also want us to do this algebraically, but I want us to see as we're starting it how it relates to the graph, right? So if I've got 4, 7, that's right here, and then negative 2, 1 is right here, and I'm going to draw a line through those points. So if I look at what is happening with my points here, if I graph it, what is the slope of that graph? Looks like it's 1 to me. Yeah. If I've drawn it correctly, it looks like it's 1. And so that will have, you can put a 1 there if you want, but it looks better if you just put the X. What's our y-intercept? Positive 3. So that should be our answer. As long as we've graphed everything correctly, that should be our answer. But as we're doing these, I want us to be able to do them algebraically as well. So if we are, now a few of you were working ahead of me yesterday, and I gave you that equation and then that assignment on Delta Math, and then I realized that that was doing point slope instead of slope intercept. So I'm not going to teach you how to do this point slope, although point slope does work. So if you like point slope and you learned how to do it yesterday, you can use it. But that is not the way that I'm going to teach it. I have taught it like that before. I don't love it because I feel like kids can't do it long term because they don't have point slope memorized well. So if you saw that yesterday and you loved it, it does work. But I'm going to teach it a different way than Delta Math was doing that. If I had realized that, I would not have given you that assignment. I would have done something else there. But I didn't. So if I want to, let's think of how to do this algebraically. Certainly graphing is a good option for this, right? But algebraically, I want us to be able to do it that way as well. If I'm looking at y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form, I need 2 things. I need a slope, and I need a y-intercept. I need the m and the b. You must find the slope first. You have to have the slope before you can find the y-intercept when you're doing this algebraically. Okay? So, on the problems we were doing yesterday, the question just gave me the slope. It said the slope is 3, or the slope is negative 2/3, right? That is not the case here. So if I was not graphing this, I wanted to do it algebraically, how do I find the slope between the 2 points? Very good. So my formula for slope, I'm going to write it down here again if you guys have forgotten it. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so Ian, tell me how to plug in my numbers for this one here. Very good. And that is going to give us negative 6 over negative 6, which is positive 1, which is what we got for our slope earlier, right? Whenever we were doing it graphing. Okay? All right, so we've got our slope. Now, this problem is just like yesterday's problem, except yesterday's problems only gave us 1 point. This one gives us 2. So, the question is, does it matter which point we pick? Okay, Evan's saying he doesn't think so.
I could be wrong. I'm just taking a quick guess.
And I don't see a way of like, how would we decide which point's best, right? Or which point's going to work. So I'm leaning towards no also. But let's try this. I want us to both, we're going to split the class in half. Half of you are going to do it one way, half of you are going to do it the other way. So, I'm splitting you guys like right here. So between Lanaya and Kama all the way down, right? So if you are Lanaya, Blakeland, Giancarlo, this side, I want you guys to do a slope of 1 and the 0.47. Okay? All right, the rest of you guys over here. So Kama, Savannah, Aiden, and this way. I want you guys to do the slope of 1 and the point -2, 1. Okay? So, using what we were doing yesterday, I want you to find the y-intercept using the point I have assigned to you. Okay? So, right now, I want you to work that out. I'm going to cut my screen off because I'm going to do both of them up here, but I want you guys to try it on your own.
We forgot how to do it.
Like we were doing on the warm-up. Y equals, so you should start off with y equals 1x plus b. Yeah, you guys are using -2, 1. Yeah. Yes. 1. It was 1. No, you're not graphing. I mean, no, you're not graphing. You're doing it. Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, now you working this problem out here? Okay, already done.
Thanks, Kama. You can keep it. Oh, wait.
So after we find B, what do we, like, do we put in the equation?
You would put it into the equation. Yeah. Okay. All right. Those of you over here on the right side, or my right side, that are doing 4, 7. What did you guys get for your y-intercept?
3.
3. Okay. What about over here? You should have also gotten 3. It does not matter which point you pick, because they are all points on the graph, so they should give you the same y-intercept. So you don't have to have both parts of this work, because I only told you to use one of the points. So if you use 4, 7, it's going to look like this. You will get 3. If you use -2, 1, it'll look like this. You will get 3. So either way, our equation, whatever was just thrown right there, I think made it, did it? Sorry, couldn't get it. All right, you'll get 1x plus 3, or it looked better if we did not put that 1 right there. So just x plus 3. Okay, so it does not matter which point you pick. I usually just try to pick whichever one looks easiest to me.
That's math. I was doing one and I got a 0 for B, and I put in the equation without plus 0, and it counted as 1. It said I had to put plus B, plus 0 on one of the equations.
It shouldn't require you to put a plus 0.
It required it for me. I don't know. Like, it showed the same equation, just with the plus 0.
What did you work at? Because I was working at one and I had to put y equals bx.
BX.
I mean y equals 0. That's what I did.
Yeah. 0 in general, zeros. Y equals, if you have 0x plus 3, something like that, you would just write y equals 3. If you have y equals 1/2 x plus 0, you would just write y equals 1/2 x. So you would usually not put the zeros there.
Okay, is it possible that we're not going to be getting that solution? BX. BX. I mean, y equals. BX. I mean, y equals. BX.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y equals. BX. BX. I mean, y equals. 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 BX. I mean, y equals
Sometimes, yeah. Possible. Possible. I can't remember. Can't remember. Maybe. Number 2, I want to say on number 2 possibly. Let's see. Number 3. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. -3, 1. 9, 5. Draw the line. All right, so if I'm looking at the graph here, let's see, is it up 1 over 3? Yeah, I think so, up 1 over 3. So it looks like if I graph it, Isabella, what does it look like that equation would be? Okay, so a slope of 1/2 and 1/3, you go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. That'll get you to this point over here. Y-intercept right there is at 2. So if I graph this, it looks like it looks good. But I also want us thinking about how to do this algebraically.
And algebraically, which we only use like 2 points. So which one would we choose?
So I would use the 2 that they gave you in the problem.
Yeah, but
Right.
we only use like 1 picture. Like
It doesn't matter. You can just pick whichever one you like best. Yeah.
Okay.
So like when we do slope here, Kama, tell me how to find the slope algebraically. Good. And what does that look like for this problem? What numbers will we plug in? What? I've got to subtract my y's on the top. So, okay, so 5 minus 1 on top, and on the bottom? Okay, so that is going to give me 4 over 12, which is not 3.
Oh wait, no. That's 2 over, no, 1 over 3.
1 over 3, yeah. Okay, which confirms what we saw from the graph, right? All right, and then we need to find the y-intercept for this. We can pick either point, okay? So, Blakeland, which point do you want to choose? -3, 1 or 9, 5? -3, 1, okay? So if we use -3, 1, and I'm only choosing it because Blakeland told me to, 9, 5 is perfectly fine as well. I will have y equals 1/3 x plus b, and I have to plug in my x and my y here. So that will be 1 equals 1/3 times -3 plus b. 1/3 of -3 is going to be -1. Now, it's going to be like 3 over 1, so you end up getting -3 over 3, which is -1. There. And then you add 1 to both sides, so 2 is your b. And so y equals 1/3 x plus 2. Okay, if you would rather use 9, 5, if you're like, ugh, that has a negative in it and I don't like it, I don't want to do one with a negative, you could use 9, 5, you'll get the same answer. Okay, questions?
Wait, how is it -3 again?
I just picked this point right here to plug
Oh,
in.
yeah, that's -3.
Okay? All right. third one here with the graph. So I've got -1, -1, and 8, -7. I did.
No, you did -1, +1.
Okay, let's fix that. Okay. Ooh. So here's a case for why you need to learn how to do this algebraically. What's the y-intercept on that?
It's like -2/3. Wait, I mean, oh, y-intercept. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
1.5?
-1.5, maybe. Maybe 1.7. Can you tell by looking at it? No. This is one of the reasons why, even if the points are graphable, finding that y-intercept exactly as it is supposed to be is going to be difficult to do. So you need to know how to do it algebraically as well. So, Rosalind, tell me how to find the slope here. What would I do for this problem? Perfect. Okay, so we're just using slope formula here. -7 minus -1. That becomes like -7 plus 1, which will be -6. And then we've got 8 minus -1, so that's like 8 plus 1, which is going to give us 9. And what does -6/9 reduce to? -2/3. There. And if I look at my graph, down 2 to the right 3, down 2 to the right 3, down 2 to the right 3, that looks right. I could have gotten the slope from this graph, probably. But y-intercept, more difficult to find. Okay, it's going to be more difficult to find algebraically as well, but it's nearly impossible to get it right from the graph. So, let's see. Lanaya, which point do you want to use? -1, -1, or 8, -7? Okay, so for 8, -7, I will have y equals -2/3 x plus b, right? Because I just put my slope there in the equation. And I need to plug in -7 for my y. I got -2/3 times 8 right there for my x plus b. Okay? When I multiply this together, most of the time my fractions go away, but they don't here. So I've got -7 equals -16/3 plus b. Okay? Well, now what have I got to do to get that b by itself there? Almost.
Oh yeah, you added.
You're going to add. All right, so I got -7 plus 16/3. I'm going to write this over to the side, right? That right now is -7/1. Do I have to have common denominators to add? Yes, I do. Multiply? No. But to add? Yes. So I need to multiply this by 3 on top and bottom. So I'll get -21/3 plus 16/3. And that is going to give me -5/3. So this is going to be -5/3 is my b. So my equation is y equals 2/3 x minus 5/3. 5/3 is 1.6 repeating. I don't think anybody guessed that whenever we were trying to guess what we thought the y-intercept was.
It was
yeah.
in between. Wait, yeah, it was in between 5.
Yeah. I think I heard -1.5. I heard -1.7. Those were both good guesses, but to be exact, you would have had to have negative 5/3 or negative 1.6 repeating. So, whenever you have a problem like this, you're going to have to be able to do it algebraically.
You're multiplying factors. Do you multiply the first fraction by like the denominator of the second fraction?
No, you just multiply straight across. So, like when I multiply right here, negative 2/3 times 8, I put the 8 over 1 because it has to be a fraction also. And I just do negative 2 times 8, which gives me negative 16. And then 3 times 1, which gives me a 3 on the bottom. It doesn't reduce. 16 is not divisible by 3. You would reduce it if it would, but it won't. Here. If it doesn't reduce, you're going to have to deal with fractions. Yeah. Okay, questions? All right. Okay, here's another case where we are going to need to do this algebraically because that is not going to fit on any graph paper that we are going to have, right? So let's work through this problem. The first thing you always need for this is the slope. Riley, how am I going to find the slope for this one? You said 19, but you meant 29, right? Okay, because there's not a 9. And then you said 3 minus, perfect. So that is going to give us negative 14 over 21. We can. What can we divide it by? 7. So that will give me negative 2/3. So that is my slope. That means I've got y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. Okay. Haley, we need to pick one of these points, either negative 1829 or 315. Which one do you want to use? 315, that's one I'd pick too, just because the number's a little smaller, right? So when I plug it in, Haley, what's that going to look like? 15 equals, because this is your x coordinate is your first one, and then your y is your second one. So it's going to be, y is going to be 15. All right, so 15 equals what, Haley? Good. Perfect. What is negative 2/3 times 3? All right, we're going to put this over 1. We'll get negative 6 over 3. What is negative 6 divided by 3? Negative 2. All right, so we get 15 equals negative 2 plus b. And then what do we do from there, Haley? Okay. And what's that going to give me? Good. That's our y-intercept. So, Haley, what does the equation look like? What is our equation? Perfect. Okay, questions? All right. Here's our last one. All right. Okay. Let's see. Anya, what would I do to find the slope for this one? Minus negative 40. Good. So that will give me 240 over 15. And I know that will reduce, I know at least 5 will go into it. Yeah. Yeah, you normally are not going to have a calculator on this, but I believe it will reduce to 16. Yeah, you can divide it there. So 16 is my M. All right, Kaylee, which point do you want to use? 10, negative 40, or 25, 200? All right, so we're going to have y equals 16x plus b, and we need to plug 10, negative 40 in. Tell me what that's going to look like once we do that. Okay. I'm gonna write this step where I do 16 times 10 plus b, and then whenever you do that, that will give you 160. And then, what's the last thing we're going to do there, Kaylee? And what do we get? Negative 200 is our b. So we would get y equals 16x minus 200. Okay, questions? Okay, so I have got a worksheet that we're going to look at to practice this. We got 30 minutes in class, and I need hard work on this for 30 minutes. Depending on the level of effort I'm seeing is going to depend on whether or not it becomes an assignment for homework. Okay, so everybody is working really, really hard and getting their work done now. There will be no need for me to assign the rest of it. Yes. Yes.
Let's say we put zero effort, but we still finish it. Would it still be homework?
We're not going to finish it if you have zero effort. Zero effort means doing nothing.
That makes sense.
Okay. All right. What? Oh, I forgot to do one like this. What about if I had the points 3, 7, and 4, 7? Whenever I do slope, I do 7 minus 7 over 4 minus 3, which gives me 0 over 1. What is 0 divided by 1? It is 0. So you actually can do this the right way, but notice this about the points. What do you notice about both of the points? The y's were both 7, right? If you notice that right off, you can just write your equation as y equals 7. Okay? So if you notice that right away, you can just write y equals 7 as your equation. What about if I have negative 5, 1 and negative 5, 0? If I try the slope for this, I'm going to get 0 minus 1 over negative 5 minus negative 5. Alright, so that would be negative 1 over 0. What is that? Undefined. When the 0 is in the bottom, that is undefined. This is your slope. The question does not, actually, some of the questions are going to ask for slope. If they ask for slope, then that's your answer. Okay? But if they don't ask for slope, if they ask for the equation, what's the equation? Aiden? Okay. Ask me in a second. What would the equation for this be? undefined slope means it's vertical. Nope. 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 X equals -5. Yeah. 8's not the same as -5. So, same thing here. If you notice here that you got that -5 here and the -5 here, you can just say x equals -5 from the very beginning, right, without even finding slope, if it's asking you for the equation. Now, I want to warn you, on this worksheet, what does number 1 ask you for? Slope. Slope is just a number. It is not an equation. It's not asking you for the equation on those first ones, okay? When does it start asking you for the equation? It doesn't start asking you the equation until number 6. So, the first 5 are just asking for slope. This worksheet mixes together the stuff we've done before with the stuff we were doing yesterday with the stuff we're doing right now. So you are not going to need to do everything we did on these notes for all of these problems, okay? So make sure you read carefully for what it's asking you for. Some of these first ones are just slope, then some of the other ones give you the slope, so it's like yesterday, right? And then when you get towards the back, that's when it's going to be like what we're doing today. Yes?
So if it says that it has a slope of 0, wouldn't that just be undefined?
0 divided by a number is 0. And that is, so 0 would be your answer. If you have a number divided by 0, like 7 divided by 0, that is when you say undefined.
So if it says that it just has a slope of 0,
That means it is the number 0. Yeah. Stop the